Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pictures Up Productions. In my end of year video last year, I expressed that I wanted to make this whole Pictures Up thing a lot more collaborative. I didn't want to focus on me as much. I didn't want it to just be me sitting here telling you about movies, even though that's exactly what this video is, but in a different way. I essentially said that I wanted to create an environment where student filmmakers can come together to express and communicate about our shared passion for visual storytelling. And over the past year, I've done not quite as well as I want to be able to say that I've done. But I've done some stuff. My last behind the scenes video included interviews with the cast and crew, other people on set who weren't me and who were involved in the production of the movie. I felt like that was a step in the right direction. I released a full Q&A with the cast and crew of One Night in Squatchtown, which I felt like was also a step in the right direction, and probably most notably, I did this interview with my friend Reese Mosley over the summer about a short film that he created. But I want to do even more, so here I am giving you 5 recommendations for high school student films that I think are fantastic and that I think you will think are fantastic. Disclaimer, these are not my top 5 student films of all time, nor are they listed in any particular order of quality. When picking these things out for this list, I considered a lot of things. I considered genre, I considered runtime. I really wanted to give you a fairly vast array of options. So nothing about this list is definitive. It's not my top 5 student films, it's not the only 5 student films I enjoy, it's not the 5 best objectively student films of all time. It's just 5 student films that I like and that I'm recommending to you, and I hope to do more of these videos. So if you think there's anything notable that I missed, or there's anything you want to recommend to me that you want me to tell other people about, then leave a comment about it, and maybe I'll talk about it in a future video. So yeah, anyway, with all that in mind, let's get going, and let's start it out with our first pick, which is Clairvoyant. This film is a fantastic 12-minute long horror drama from director Elijah Anthony Fainer, who I was lucky enough to meet and speak with for maybe about an hour at the All-American High School Film Festival this October. I hadn't seen any of his movies yet, but I knew just from talking to Elijah that I was going to be a fan of this dude's work. You can usually tell just from talking to someone about movies and about their work what their level of passion for filmmaking is, and from him I was getting nothing but pure passion and love for his craft. That night when I talked to him, he had just won the Cinematography Award at the All-American High School Film Festival, and I cannot overstate just how well-deserved that award was. Clairvoyant, just like the rest of Elijah's work, which I recommend you check out, it's on his YouTube channel, is a really gorgeous film. It follows a teenage girl with supernatural abilities forced to move from one house to another, and she discovers that the new house that she inhabits has a haunted past. Despite its high concept logline though, Clairvoyant deals with a lot of themes and elements of adolescence which I think a lot of people will find relatable, and I think a lot of people will see themselves in. Before you watch the film, I would go to the description on its YouTube page, scroll to the bottom of that description, and read what Elijah has to say about the film. To me, putting the film in context in terms of the stage of life that Elijah was in when he made it adds a whole nother layer of appreciation to this movie. So let's keep the horror thing going for just a second with The Painted Beast. Cody Victor is yet another filmmaker who I had the opportunity to meet at the All-American High School Film Festival. In fact, when my film Out for Delivery screened at the Best of Fest block at All-American High School Film Festival, this movie screened directly before it. Though this and Clairvoyant share the exact same genre, this movie definitely leans a lot more into the more abstract elements of the horror genre. It's got some really striking visuals and impactful moments and successfully manages to set the audience on edge throughout its entire runtime. It has almost no dialogue and just builds tension just wonderfully, which I think makes it a really fantastic film to watch in a theater setting, which I'm glad I had the opportunity to catch it in that setting. It definitely requires your full attention, but it's certainly worth your time. And though my interaction with them was brief, Cody seems like a stellar filmmaker and a really great individual, and I think this film just serves as fantastic evidence of that talent. I definitely recommend you check it out. And now moving on to the film that's my go-to answer if anyone ever were to ask me what my favorite student film of all time is. Holographic Dreams, or The Art of Nature and the Nature of Art by Jackson Coates. I would say that a lot of my behind the scenes videos take inspiration from Holographic Dreams or The Art of Nature and the Nature of Art by Jackson Coates, because that's essentially what it is, a behind the scenes documentary. And the original film whose behind the scenes journey this film documents is just called Holographic Dreams, without the subtitle. Confusing, I know. It follows a group of student filmmakers who make a bold, unconventional filmmaking decision: to make a fake movie. The result is Holographic Dreams, the original, not the documentary, which is a pseudo-experimental student short film about Nothing. The film really makes itself seem like it's about something. It's got this really cryptic voiceover and generic symbolism, which is very ambiguous, could be interpreted a number of different ways, but the filmmakers never had any intended meaning when making the film. And that's the entire point, to see just how successful this fake experimental film could be, despite the fact that it actually exists to poke fun at overly pretentious experimental filmmaking. The answer? Extremely successful. The original experimental film was actually selected for the All-American High School Film Festival, it was nominated for Best Documentary, and it was an official selection at the South by Southwest Film Festival. A year later, though, filmmaker Jackson Coates followed up the experimental film with this behind-the-scenes documentary about how it got made, and this is where, to me, things get really interesting. It documents the pre-production, production, and post-production of the film, including some of the positive reception that the film received afterwards. Eventually, towards the end of the documentary, this thing, which basically started out as a trick on film festivals to see if they would accept a fake movie, turns into a really interesting examination of the importance of intent in art. Jackson asks the audience whether in art intention matters at all, which I think is a really interesting question, and I think it's worth talking about, and I won't get into it too much right here, but I would love to someday. So anyway, yeah, I really recommend that you check this out for a quick, mentally stimulating short documentary. The first 280 honest words of my life. Okay, so since the last one was basically a film which makes a very deliberate point out of shitting on overly pretentious experimental student films, I figured I would talk about an actual experimental student film that I genuinely enjoy. And of course, that I don't find pretentious. The first time I had the opportunity to see this film, it was actually back in March at the Atlanta High School Film Festival, and then I saw it again in New York for All-American in October. Weirdly enough, the first time I saw it, it didn't really resonate. I don't know why, but something about it didn't quite click with me, but when I saw it in New York, I really saw what this film was about. God, I really hope this one isn't a fake movie as well. That'd be really funny if I just start gushing about it and then this movie also isn't about anything. Ella Janes, the filmmaker, she wasn't in attendance in Atlanta, but she was on stage at All-American, so I met her for like 5 seconds. The point is, I barely interacted with her, but I really enjoy her work. I really enjoy this film in particular. I think you should definitely check it out. She really has a gift for mending these really impressive visuals with spoken word poetry. She clearly has an eye for film and an ear for words, and I think there's some really meaningful, substantial stuff in there that you can hear, provided you're listening. What's your dream? I think animation is perhaps the one genre that I admire the most because it's the one that I really don't think I could do myself. If you're a fan of the animation style in shows like Bee and Puppy Cat, I think that you'll find Sophie Crowder's film What's Your Dream to be a visual delight. I met Sophie briefly in New York and we've talked a little bit since, and I'm super impressed with all of her talent. This movie, and I mean this in the absolute best way, and I don't mean it as a slight to any of these movies, but it's basically the tonal antithesis of Clairvoyant or The Painted Beast. This is a movie, and I feel like this is kind of a lost art, particularly among student filmmaking. This is a movie that makes you feel good to watch. You have a really good time watching this movie. It gets its message across, sure, but you walk away from it feeling inspired, feeling uplifted, and feeling capable of acting on the morals that this movie tries to get across. It's certainly a feel-good short film. It's difficult to look at Sophie's animation without smiling and having a good time, and I think that's an extremely valuable thing, and I think you should definitely check this movie out. Okay, so that's what I've got for you today. Check out these films, let me know what you think, let them know what you think. Unless it's bad, then don't be mean. Leave a comment here, leave a comment over there, let them know where you came from. Again, unless you're being mean, then I don't want my name attached to it. Let me know whether or not you like this style of video, because if you do like these, I'm happy to do more of them and expose you to more really cool student short films. And with that, I'll see you in the next video, and until then, I'm Sam Morgan, and this is Pictures Up.